Granny, you were a researcher for Toei? Yes, I was one of the original ones. I always knew that Toei and the establishment were growing closer and closer. Toei has always been doing neural research. Ugh. To put it simply, I worked with the brain's plasticity. We tested how some drugs could affect the brain that had lost their functionality. I was hoping to find the solution to be able to save people who had damaged brains. I always believed that it was an amazing thing to study. But it didn't turn out to be that way. Toei's real objective was to find a way to manipulate people in any and every way possible. That's what the research was for. I believe that they often designed secretive programs, and the issues grew over time. When I looked into it, you could see it in their documents. In there, I read that they had perfectly substituted a person's consciousness successfully. When I saw that, I felt like I was dead. I did it all to save people, and in the end it backfired. After that, I stopped all of my research and quit. I decided that I'd return to this island, my hometown, and live the rest of my life in peace without Toei in it. But a little while ago, I got a message from Toei. What? He wrote that there was an emergency at the research center and requested that I return. But I kept refusing. I never want to associate myself with him ever again. He must have gotten furious at me. Then they took serious action. That's what morphine is. But then why was dry juice caught up in it? Recently, haven't younger people all around this island been disappearing? They drug them up, cause them to lose their senses, and make them their patients. I think those are Toei's victims. They coax them into morphine and release them into the city, just so that they can be monitored for progress. Otherwise, they wouldn't have released failed subjects. Failed subjects? The ones who can't handle it and break down. Their minds are destroyed and they become invalids. Then what happened to the successful ones? They're retrieved and are subjected to even more experiments, like when I spoke of the people with substituted consciousness. They've lost their freedom by then. Didn't you see it when you looked at Mizuki? He stepped all over me because I was caught unprepared. What's Toei trying to do with the research? What's going to happen to the island now? Most likely to rid all people on this island of their minds. That way, Toei will be able to rule unopposed over his kingdom. If the method to break a person's mind is found quickly enough, he'll also be able to buy other countries. Toei has his hands deep in this old residential district. It's been peaceful for several years now, but his real plan may be only beginning now. Then everyone in this district will become like those test subjects? And now he's thinking about everybody he knows. Oh, how typical. Haga-san, the stupid brats, Yoshie-san, everyone. We have to stop him. I won't let him. I'll never let that happen. As I mutter these words, Granny looks at me with a pained face. There's still something I have to say, Aoba. It's about you. Me? You lost consciousness when you came to save me, didn't you? Oh, yeah. I had a really realistic dream, too. I talked with Mizuki in it. That wasn't a dream. What you were seeing was in Mizuki's head. Huh? In his head? Now shit gets serious! Granny makes sure of something and looks into my eyes. Don't you tell me that it's nothing. I don't know if you'll believe me so easily, but you're able to mix your consciousness in with other people's minds. What? What did she say? My own consciousness inside someone else's head. I don't understand what Granny's saying. We call that ability scrap. Scrap. In your case, you can induce scrap with your voice. Huh? I get over-emotional when making speeches sometimes, but I listen to why people say some things. Don't you have a lot of those experiences? Yup, at work, with, everything else, and that guy at Mink's place? Yeah. I guess you could say that. Your voice has the power to pull people in. If you decide to put it to use, you'll be able to gain access to others' minds. If you're doing it to someone you know well and have a deep wish or desire, you will most likely be able to plant that into their consciousness with your own. But if you use physical contact through the flesh as a means of contact, the other person will be completely defenseless. When you do that, as soon as you speak, there's a possibility that their mind will break. That's just a theory. I was already finding it difficult to understand Granny, but now, if I speak to someone's consciousness, I can control them? Being able to face them in their own minds? Possibly breaking them? I didn't get it at all. It feels like she's speaking in some language I don't understand. So, that's what it was. Mink, who was in the other room, walks in at some point, arms folded and leaning on the wall. Scrap is a strong power in your voice. That face, though. Then, that weird place in my mind was actually Mizuki's mind? I can't say what you saw exactly, but it probably was. I talked to Mizuki back there. He was like he usually is, and he told me about how he was in so much pain, and how he worried about rib and dry juice. So that's what he was hung up about. The one you were speaking to was Mizuki's consciousness. It was the real Mizuki with no lies, only complete truths. How did you answer? For some reason, I suddenly remembered my past. I don't understand why I forgot completely about being in rhyme. And Kojaku and Noise look at me. So it was like that. It's because I've always refused to participate in rhyme. But when I was talking to the real Mizuki, it felt weird like rhyme did. I can't really describe it. What was it? Mizuki, he was always telling me something. That morphine wasn't what he thought it was. But before he said that, he looked like he was in so much pain. Deep wrinkles form on Granny's brow. She snorts and begins to think. There was still the matter at hand to talk about, but her silence stays heavy. Here, everyone is listening to Granny's words. This is my opinion, and I'm not trying to condemn you at all, but if you had chosen the right words at that time, Mizuki's consciousness might have returned. Huh? You mean... It's a horrible way of saying it, but you could have taken the half-dead Mizuki and drawn out his true feelings, but you left him there. If you had, for example, peeled off his outer shell and exposed his flesh in a way, it's a very delicate thing. So, Mizuki's consciousness will never return. Isn't that right? Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. Mizuki was strung along in a trap by Toei, like when he was feeling the pain of his head splitting apart when you tried to speak to him. When he was dragged out and then left alone, Toei's trap set off, and that's why his mind has been destroyed. If he ever does come back, it'll be from his own willpower. No way! Mizuki's mind was destroyed, and it was my fault? My vision goes pitch black. My fault. No, Mizuki! Aoba, your power is capable of destroying people. That's why you need to be aware of it. I've always been thinking about when I should tell you. I've always been here for you. I've always been able to protect you in this cage, but now that's no good anymore. If you use it to protect me, it'll just go wild and all you'll be met with is misery in the end. It's why Toei found you. You were one of the first there when Toei began his research. They wanted that power, and they were willing to put their hands on your throat for it. This time, they're forcing their way in, but I don't know what Toei is up to right now. That's why you have to go on your own now, Aoba. Even if you say that, I can't just accept it like that. What Granny just said was as much as I could take. But I understand that letting Toei do what he wants is dangerous. If I ignore him, this island will become his plaything. A special event is opening in Platinum Jail soon. It's not clear what it'll be about until the day it opens, but they're offering it to the old resident district too. Why is the old resident district being invited? Isn't it usually isolated from Platinum Jail? They're opening it to the public and testing things out by inviting the district. Exactly. The research is still unknown to the public. But with this event, they'll be able to observe the results of their experiment. How are they going to observe them? Songs, speeches, lights, videos. They want to figure out how the people can be broken, and if they can acquire anything new. Saying that, there's nothing we can do before the event, is there? We'd better go to Platinum Jail as soon as possible, maybe even tomorrow. How are we going to do this? There's a way to get in before the gates open. There is? Yes, but I can't move. You'll have to depend on someone else to help. Go to Hagasan. To Hagasan? People like the people that have lived here for a long time pretty much all know. It's not too difficult. You can ask for even more details. After saying that, Granny gives out a pained breath. Well, I've talked a lot, haven't I? Even though you all kept interrupting me. It wasn't much, but I told you the truth I saw when I was a researcher. I'm sorry for getting you all caught up in this. Granny faces us and lowers her head. Granny. Tai-san, don't. Grandmother! After lowering her head for a few more seconds, she looks at everyone. Now, you all must be tired now. You all could do more if you'd like, but it's better to let yourselves rest now. Once Granny spoke, no one else said a word. Everyone left the living room with a meek look on their face. It looks like Kojaku went to the second floor, and Mink went outside. Once everyone leaves, Granny stands up and goes inside the living room. She sits down and takes a long. I walk up to join her. Granny. What? Can we talk a little more? Oh, jeez. She doesn't understand me, but I go to sit next to her. There are so many things I want to talk about, but I don't know what I should say first. My mind's in a frenzy, and I can't seem to hold on to thoughts. I stare at my hands on my knees and open my mouth while thinking. You know, I always make you worry about me, and I don't know a lot about stuff. I'm sorry. While you were talking earlier. You're sounding stupid. Oh, but there's never been a day that's passed by when I'm not thankful for your safety. You're my responsibility, because I'm your crusty old grandmother. Granny, you are pretty crusty. Granny sits silently and stares at me for a few moments. You said that you remembered participating in rhyme, right? Yeah. A long time ago, you had to go to the hospital because of an incident in rhyme. Huh? An incident in rhyme? Yeah. Only now can I say it to you. When I rushed up to you back then, you didn't remember anything. Both the doctors and the police told me you were caught up in a bad fight.